So this is the position that everybody wants to be in, to be the last panel right before drinks and dinner and on a Friday evening, of all things. So we'll try to keep this, I think, pretty lively and interactive and short and sweet. And so, yeah, and maybe we'll even have time for a question or two. Would you like to kick off a little bit? Or
yes,
would you like me
yes,
to
yeah. So, yeah, as Eli said, like, this is the most exciting panel. Let's talk about money. Yeah, we heard like all this great research and all these questions, the research questions and the possible policy interventions. Oh, sorry. This. Okay. So, but someone has to fund the research, and usually, and that has been the experience. That has been my experience with AI. I remember 10 years ago, people were talking about AI. AI is coming. And before I joined Minderoo Foundation, I was with a civil society organization, and we knew that it was coming, but there wasn't enough funding to do research, to do policy engagement, to do advocacy, and it took a while for founders to get there. And now, like, you know, when you look at the funding ecosystem, like, you see that all the founders are supporting AI-related research. So the question is when the founders will get there. Yeah. But I have some good news, and we have a very short video. Is it up? Yeah.
Extended reality technologies will fully immerse people in a digital, interactive environment, dramatically shifting how we interact with computers and one another. This paradigm shift, like many that came before, holds both promise and peril for society at large. Consider today's online harassment and how that might evolve in a 3D, fully embodied experience. Today's privacy concerns will be dwarfed by the collection of sensitive biometric data revealing our emotional states moment by moment. And new issues will arise. There will be mental and physical health considerations, consequences for how we work, and potentially profound benefits in fields like education. XR technologies are here now, but the future of how XR is used isn't set in stone, and it shouldn't be set by corporations alone. The future depends on whether and how public interest values are reflected in what gets built. The Minderoo Foundation is a philanthropic organisation dedicated to taking on tough, persistent issues with the potential to drive massive change. With the XR 2030 Policy Fund, we are inviting researchers, advocates, and other members of civil society to propose projects to assess a key challenge or opportunity raised by XR technologies, propose possible interventions, or ideally both. Aided by a group of expert advisors, we will evaluate proposals based on their feasibility, potential impact, and novelty, and we will prioritise interdisciplinary research. If XR is to become a dominant form of communication, then we must work together to ensure it supports the public interest, empowering individuals and communities. We look forward to supporting innovators in this space, and we hope you'll join us in making sure the future of XR benefits everyone.
Here we go. This is the XR30 fund. We launched the fund in December, and we will start accepting applications by February 3rd. So that's the magical date, like February 3rd. And if you have research proposals, policy intervention ideas, or advocacy strategies, please check our website and make an application, because we really want to fund cutting-edge research. We really want to fund public interest research, because most of the research that has taken place until now is the corporate research, and only the corporations are talking about XR. So it's time for us as the public interest community to put our, to put our foot down and say that, hey, we are here and we have lots to share. So I'm really looking forward to seeing your applications.
I mean, that's exciting. I wish I had $1 million fund on XR, but no, I think that's that's amazing. And kudos to Minderoo. I think it's rare in an emerging new space. Obviously, people have been focusing on XR for years, if not decades, but as far as a societal sort of awareness, policymakers, the broader ecosystem and community, it's a new area, right? It's still an immature space from a funding perspective. And so, as a lot of you know who have sought funding for years, when you have an emerging space, it takes time for funders to catch up. Minderoo is wonderful that they have this ambitious new vision and even like a really great video. Most funders aren't going to be there. And so I think something to keep in mind is definitely apply, but then also you can do a lot to define the ecosystem, to define the terms, and to educate other funders who may want to be brought along. Because XR can be both a vertical and also a horizontal that cuts across society, right? And so I think you'll also have success if you look at funders who are funding in adjacent and overlapping areas, whether that's AI, whether it's cybersecurity, an area that I've funded in for a decade, or whether it's sort of healthcare and sort of social benefits. Like XR intersects those verticals, right? And so I think, as you think about attracting funding and getting funding for your research, look at funders who don't have an XR fund or don't have XR in the name of their program and make the case after reading their strategy and looking at their priorities, how what you're doing in XR is relevant and how you will help them stretch into the future and really have an impact. And frankly, you need to be a bit creative and entrepreneurial, and I've seen that work at other spaces. And so, that's I think one bit of advice to keep in mind, because hopefully in another couple of years, more funders, including perhaps Schmidt Futures or others, will also have dedicated funds. But we're not quite there yet. So I think I wish I had a big announcement to make. But so all I can do is sort of offer some constructive input from sort of having funded in cybersecurity, now trying to fund a bit in trust and safety in some of the spaces that have come up in the panels. But I think that's really exciting news.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you guys will join at some point.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think one of the things we are doing at Schmidt Futures is thinking about technology policy broadly, right? And so we do fund on cybersecurity, on sort of the future of online trust and safety. That's sort of an exploration I'm leading. And so the Atlantic Council DFR Lab is in the room, and so they are leading a task force on the trustworthy future web and sort of the content moderation and related conversation. And Britain is, of course, one of the key members of that task force. And so I think that's an area where you've had many conversations today, and we've had many conversations about the overlap between XR and how do you keep people safe, how do you moderate behavior, how do you think about these immersive environments. And hopefully that exploration will lead to some dedicated funding in that space, but it takes funders time. I also moonlight at the Hewlett Foundation, which has a cyber initiative focusing on cybersecurity. And there, again, the security aspects of XR are somewhat obvious, but that also funders need to be led to them. And so I think there are a lot of funders out there, and all that I would do is encourage you to think broadly, to sort of like go get all the information you can off the websites, dig, interrogate. Unfortunately, every funder is unique, and so there's the old adage, if you know one funder, you know one funder, and so it's incredibly laborious, it's inefficient, and that's unfortunately the way it's going to remain. But I think conversations like this are important to try to share information, be transparent, and also sort of find ways to help each other, to say, like, maybe I'm not in a position to fund your research right now, but I can send you to Minderoo or another funder, or say, hey, there's this event you should go to, or, oh, there's this donor collaborative you should be aware of. And so I think there are other tools in the toolkit that you can develop, and so we can talk more about those if of interest. But again, like, really exciting news.
Yeah. Questions? Let's keep this short. Any questions?
Any specific areas of interest that are you focusing as key points, or individual projects, or I don't know, research papers? Do you have any type of project in mind?
Yeah. So the fund is structured in a very different way than the other funds. So we have like 3 kinds of grants. Small grants, which are for early career academics, PhD students, and small grants are for research papers. And then we have like mid-sized grants, which are for like research institutions or civil society organizations. And they are focusing on research, but to a certain extent, advocacy. And then we have these large grants, which are up to 100K, And those large grants are for the research institutions again and civil society. And what we are seeking there is like we want to have the research. We want the research to identify the key challenges, risks, and then public interest, like policy interventions, and come up with an advocacy strategy. Because we really want this fund to be sustainable. And as Eli said, like usually that's how it works with funders. One funder is there, the others follow it. And I'm really, really hoping that other funders will follow us and will at least like, you know, develop interest. And once we have the applications and once we start distributing the grants, like I'm hoping to reach out to other funders and tell them, hey, we have these great projects, like, you know. So it shouldn't be like, I mean, this is just the beginning of something big. I don't know what it is, but it is going to be something big. And this fund will hopefully will grow into something more like, you know, like European AI fund, like, you know, with many like funders like chipping in, and really shaping the policy. So, and in terms of like the issues we focus, there are a few areas that we identified, and they are on the website, but we try to avoid to be prescriptive. You know, we really want like people to be innovative. Like, and because when I talk to most of the CSOs, like, and I ask them, what are you working on? They are like, yeah, we've been working on AI and like, you know, all the other issues like the privacy, competition, and how about XR? And they are like, yeah, we have interest, but there is no funding, and it's really, really hard. Like, you know, if there is no funding, it's really hard to, you know, start working on a new topic. And I tell now everyone now, like now you don't have an excuse. Like if you have an interest, there is a fund here. Please apply. So yeah, like just be creative, just be innovative, and we really want to have like a portfolio which is diverse, like, you know, and diverse issues, like, and geographically diverse. We don't want to have applications only from the US and Europe, but like, you know, and I was talking to a few of the African NGOs, and they were like, yeah, this is so exciting, we want to apply. I'm like, please do, because I want to hear from you, and I want to see what would be like, what would be the issues in Africa? Because like when we have these conversations, we don't talk about the other regions. Like, I mean, Latin America, like the issues there would be totally different. And in my experience, emerging economies are usually like, people living in emerging economies, they adapt these technologies so well. But the regulators don't think about that. Advocates in those countries, they don't think about it, and we get there so late. So hopefully this will shape the global policy, like not only the policy here in the US and Europe, but also globally in emerging economies, but also the other countries. Britta.